his channel right now, but we are back on our Monday kind of coffee talk, catching up with what Cody's been working on. Like I said, he does videos every Tuesday, Thursday on his channel, and we like to kind of recap on those because those are kind of quick, short, what's on the top of his mind. But Cody, how was your weekend, man? You look kind of tired.
It's a weekend, week beginning. It's just a day. So I worked on the portfolio over the weekend, and that was good. Got some projects done. I got to do portfolio tour with a buddy that's looking at self managing his portfolio. So I was showing him some of what I was working on and just getting things ready to sign this week. I have two refinances that should be going through this week. Both are lowering the interest rate, so the overall cost of capital is going down and pulling a little bit of money out. So payments on both properties should either go down or stay the same, and get a little bit of cash in so I can pay off some of my higher interest rate debts.
Very nice, very nice. And but like I said, the one video that really caught my attention that you did was, I think, something that a lot of us deal with, especially newer investors. And it's maybe we have older homes that we have, or kind of just evaluating the portfolio. But you're talking about kind of stopping the repairs, right, on your portfolio, and how in the long run you feel like it's going to be better for you as an investor, right? So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So the things I'm doing, I'm trying to make it dummy proof for maintenance on my portfolio. So example, making sure every unit after the sink has a cleanout valve. So you don't have to disassemble the whole sink, because every time someone has to spend a bunch of time taking stuff apart, putting it back together, breaking the seal, like it creates more opportunities for issues and time involvement. So I'm trying to make my projects a handyman project rather than a plumber project. So adding in the extra clean outs is one of those things, making sure that I'm adding shut off valves to all the units so that you can isolate the issue rather than turn off the water to the whole property. It starts to make things a lot easier to work on, because I'm not going to be living here forever. And I'm doing some projects because I don't really feel like spending 5 grand to do a project where the materials are $300. So doing some of that myself, but trying to bulletproof the portfolio because I'm not going to be doing this for much longer. And you give it another year, I'm going to be back on the west side, and then focusing on living life rather than living in my rentals.
And I think you kind of touched on, I mean, water maybe your kind of number one concern for these repairs, maintenance. But what other has gone through your thought process, and what other things you have on the plate that maybe you're trying to look at to address?
Water's the big one. Drainage outside is another. So I have a few properties where I need to add in French drains because of the water pooling outside the building is not a good thing. And I got to direct that away if I want the building to last, because I do. They're long-term holds. So I got to add in some French drains to fix the pooling problems. I'd like to connect, well, as many properties as I can, get rid of my septic tanks. So go from septic to sewer. It's super cheap to be on septic, and a lot of them are in good shape. Majority, probably 90+% of my septic tanks will last a long time. But just connecting to the sewer, making sure, hey, that's not an issue anymore. It's not a potential ticking time bomb. Like, that's something I also want to do before I leave.
So are you like going to be addressing everything now at one time, like per unit or per building, I'm saying? Or is it kind of like as there's vacancy, then you're going to take care of it then? Or is it something you're going to kind of, you have a schedule kind of set out that you're going to address it for each unit, like currently?
I'm working on going building by building. A lot of my buildings are 6 to 14 units per building, so somewhere in that range. So just one by one going through, making it happen. And there's other little optimization projects too, not so much from the maintenance perspective, but the actual maintenance, it's also limited by budget, as my wife and I own our portfolio, basically no partners. Majority of our stuff is us. And it's a lot of money to renovate 120 rentals. So we're doing it as we can.
I think the one thing that I notice is a lot of people are trying to maybe um, avoid, I don't know if that's the right word, avoid or eliminate these type of repairs or maintenance, which of course you want to try to limit them. But I also look at it where if you were to own a home on your own, some of that sometimes these things just come up and happen, and you take care of it, right? So there's no way to like, I wouldn't use that as a prevent you from investing or hold your progress back, right? Because you got to realize that this comes with owning real estate, right? It is part, even if you have your own home for your own and primary and you live there, these are things that are going to come up anyways that you'd have to take care of. So you're just doing this also for increasing your returns over the long run. Like you said, these are all buy and hold for the long term. And it's
Well,
just something you're going to take care of anyways, right?
yeah, if I call a plumber to snake drain, like they take apart the sink and then they snake it, they're probably going to charge me $300. If I put in a clean out valve where someone can just stick it straight down and I can have a handyman do it, it's $30. So it's an instant payback. So that's why I'm looking at doing these things. It's not going to eliminate the problem. It's going to make the solution a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I think even another thing, like you said, maybe if the property is occupied and you're not going to do these things now. I think Jacob from school, who also does a lot of self managing, he has a great checklist, but he puts in like those water sensors or alarms, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
there's any water leak, it'll sense off this alarm so that you can address it a lot quicker, and it maybe prevents further damage, right? So that's something you can also do in the meantime if maybe the property is occupied and you don't want to disturb the tenants and deal with it while there is people living there. So how do you kind of, I guess, well, I mean, we were talking about a lot of water things that you're looking at dealing with, like French drain and stuff like that outside. Is there any other specific things, like maintenance stuff that you can touch on?
Yeah, other things that I am working on slowly but surely has been upgrading all the electrical panels and that's really more so just to reduce my insurance risk. So I've redone the panels. I redid it on my 13 unit, on my 15 unit. They're just all completely brand new. My 8 units already done. I've done some of the panels on the 12. So I'm just going building by building as I can afford it and upgrading all the panels. Because if I can lower my insurance cost, I have more money to throw at other problems and I have less risk of fire. It's my thought. I've also upgraded next to all of the water heaters in the portfolio. That was a big one. The next one would be windows. So swapping out windows, trying to get rid of all the single pane aluminum windows. They got the aluminum frames, just one pane of glass. Because all the cold air, it just, I'm trying to upgrade the efficiencies for utilities now.
Flavio is asking, when you buy a new building, tenants ask you for some renovation. How do you go and navigate that?
Write a check. Yeah, do it. When I buy a new building, more often than not, unless it's my brand new stuff, the rent's going to go up. So if they have some stuff, I'm absolutely going to address it. Because why would I not and then just say, hey, your rent's going up? That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Josh Burdick says, I replaced old toilets that only had a 3-inch outlet. They had clogging issues, so I replaced them and have never had an issue since. Maintenance optimization saves headaches and money. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I kind of look at it a lot about sometimes people just want to put a band-aid on it, right? And they're not looking long term for it and like optimizing, like you said. Sometimes it's better to just replace it, especially the age of it or how old it is, instead of just kind of putting a band-aid and maybe fixing it for the time being. Let's see. Wonder why this individual would say that. You lie about it. Oh, man, you're talking about maybe talking about maintenance or repair, saying you did it, or Yasik says, yeah, I know someone that deals with windows that may assist. So Yasik has a window company, and just this morning on one of the accountability calls, actually Josh was the individual talking about replacing windows in one of his, I think his primary he was talking about, and Yasik was giving him some recommendations and advice and some ways to save some costs on that. So yeah, I think optimizing is the biggest thing that you don't really think about when you first maybe get into investing, right? You think, well, I just got to buy the property and now get a manager and I'm just done and kind of set it and forget it. But I think if anyone's taking like lumberjack landlord's course and like what you're trying to do to now, right? You're trying to optimize the portfolio to reduce these expenses over time, right?
Yeah, it's not an overnight thing at all. I mean, there's a lot of things I'd like to do. I tallied it up. My 39 unit, I could blow another $700,000 tomorrow on it, just on projects. And then it would be closer to done. It still wouldn't be all the way done. So it's not an overnight thing. You have to budget, you got to plan. It's a business. You just got to be patient with it and try not to get in too far over your head on your first deal.
So I think a lot of this is you are trying to get ahead of the curve, right? You're trying to do a lot of these things ahead of time before it does become an issue. But Jen is asking, how do you know about these different updates? Do tenants complain or are you suddenly getting a big bill? Like, is there a checklist that you're kind of going through? And then she follows up with, how do you prioritize which update to do first?
Well, I've walked through every apartment in my portfolio many times. So I've gotten very familiar with what needs done. When I first bought my building, I didn't know everything that needed done. There was no way to know. Didn't know a lot. So over time, I just became more acquainted with the building. I figured out what the problems were. The very first building I ever bought, as an example, something I didn't realize was a problem is there was a boiler heat, but the owner didn't really like setting that up every year and maintaining it. So he just gave plug-in wall heaters to everybody. So eventually I upgraded the electrical panels and then wired in cadet heaters in all the units because that is a fire hazard using plug-in wall heaters all the time. I didn't know that. Figured it out, so I had to address it, and that was a lot of money later. But as time goes on, you learn a little bit more, and you do a little better.
The grumpy contractor, Jim, says, sounds like I am on the correct path doing all of this before refinancing and before the units go online.
It's nice to get it all done ahead of time. The problem is, if I spent all of my time and money fixing my portfolio early, I would not have been able to build the portfolio that I needed to build for what I wanted. So you got to what I like to do is build a portfolio first before trying to optimize everything. Because if you spend all your money on optimization, it's hard to build. You don't have any free cash flow.
Yeah, I think that's also, I mean, everyone has maybe a different take on it. Like I know Zuber's touched on he prefers vacant units when he purchases, and Dion prefers occupied units, right? So part of Dion's thought process is it kind of allows you to get your feet wet. You are possibly collecting some income at the time. You can address things as you kind of move on. But he also thinks because they're occupied, you can kind of get a feel for maybe how that property, um, I guess, functions when someone is living there. Right? Are they flushing the toilets every day? Are they using the heater? Are they running water? So you kind of can see maybe where some maybe things can be addressed or efficiencies, right? So different takes there, and I see the positives for both sides. But that's kind of also why Dion does like having units occupied when he does purchase.
I'm the same with Dion on that one. I've bought empty buildings and I've bought full buildings, and I prefer buying a full building every time.
I think I was very on Zuber's side when you first start because you kind of think, oh, I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to deal with possibly a bad tenant. And that's kind of your mindset. But I think as you do it and as you start getting comfortable working with tenants possibly or communicating with them, you realize it's not that difficult. So taking on properties that are already occupied, I think it's a lot easier now. And like you say, kind of you don't have to like sometimes the payments are covered initially, so you can kind of get your feet wet, see how the property operates, see what things can be efficient improved on. But definitely, yeah, in the beginning maybe you're a little scared, but as you start doing it, you get a little more comfortable and you're like, okay, I kind of want maybe properties that have tenants in there. Steven is asking, are you financing these improvements, like using a 0% interest credit card and then paying it back over the year, or are you paying upfront?
I've definitely done both, and I've done a lot of different debt and equity structures to fund these projects. I have done a handful of 0% interest credit cards. I have one left that's still at 0% that I got like a year ago. So I think I have 5 months or no, 6 months left. So I don't really want to pay that off right now, but I'm paying it down, and it's a tool. Just don't get addicted to it, because some people build a big business off of debt like that, and then it goes to 20 something percent, and then they have a difficult time getting out of it.
What's your take on? I have seen some posts in school recently. So I think it was, so let's say furnace. It was nearing the end of life,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't quite recall the post, but it was, I think they had it replaced. Um, but it still had life to it. Like it was still working. But I think they spent the money to have it replaced. Would you take care of it knowing that it's nearing its end? Would you just pay for it and have it taken care of, or would you kind of wait till it's completely done with and then replace it?
Depends. Do you have the money? Because if you don't have the money, you service it. If you have the money and you don't want to worry about it, you replace it. Not everything has to be the highest ROI. I think if you're always focused on ROI, you make stupid decisions. So, yeah, if someone replaced it, good on them. If they had the money, they didn't have to borrow to do it, cool. But if they had to borrow to do it at a high interest rate, then I would have said just service it.
Yeah, I think I think they were selling a property and the furnace came up on the inspection. And yeah, I gotta try to look for it. But yeah, it was that was kind of the discussion. Like, should they replace it or should they
Yeah, I
let
mean,
it
that's a
go?
gesture of good faith to the new owner. It's great. I don't think being a cheapo is the
Yeah.
best way to live life.
Hyder, no, I don't. Hopefully, nobody lost visual here. He had a black screen. He said, "Hey, Harrison is here. See Gus here. Gus will be joining me tomorrow. That should be a fun one. Gus is taking over Brandon's spot on Tuesdays. Brandon's going to step away for a little while, but it's always a fun time catching up with Gus. But yeah, I think that's the one thing. I think just be proactive about it, right? Yeah, we can't stop all the maintenance, and no matter what we do, I don't think there's any way that we're gonna get, because even when people do buy new builds or new properties, there's still sometimes there's issues that come up, right. But the main thing is being proactive and trying to reduce some of these things. And like you're saying, don't be a cheapo, right? I mean, don't just consistently put things off, right? So
Nobody likes working with a cheap person.
absolutely, I totally agree with that, and I think that is the one thing that sometimes hold people back, right? They're always trying to um, there's a difference between cheap and frugal, right? So that's sometimes that's what people have to realize. I understand, being frugal is important, but sometimes um, they're leaning on the cheap side of things, right? When when they're trying to be in this business. Let's see. Ooh, what about landscaping? Is that something that falls under this kind
Yeah,
of stopping repairs and things?
it absolutely does. So on a lot of my properties, I opt to do hardscape or zero scape, where it's more rock and it's low maintenance. I'm looking at buying a property right now, and they're just lawn mowing per year is a little over 12 and a half grand. It's a big lawn, to be fair, but it's like if that was hardscaped, it would still be beautiful. It would still fit the climate, and the property value would go up over 150 grand. Are you kidding? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, the good maintenance routine is really important,
Mm.
and having your lawn care is part of that maintenance routine. Like it's a low maintenance landscape.
So what about trees? How do you handle trees? Is that something you pretty much would try to completely remove, or it kind of case by case,
No,
depending?
I'll fight someone to keep my trees.
Hmm.
I like them.
Interesting.
They only cause problems, but they are awesome. Because I'm in the desert. So if I was on the west side, yeah, sure, I get it. There's a million trees over there. But there's no trees here. And so the thought of cutting one down is just devastating because, like,
Really? Okay,
well,
it's interesting.
I got a property that has, I think it has 15 trees on it. And then all the neighboring properties have zero. So I think my property is superior to theirs.
Interesting. Okay, I would have never thought that. All right.
We live in a desert. There's no trees here. I have a I have like the gold of the desert.
Well, right. Well, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like your market, right? So maybe people do pay a little extra for that, like you're saying.
It
Um,
just looks prettier than dirt.
James Hillis says 12K. I can understand. So going back to, I think was that last week?
No, mowing that property would not cost 12,000. I'm looking at a different one. The lawn itself is bigger than that first property.
All right, and let's give Cody some. It was not 4 hours; it was 3 hours, right? I think you said so.
Hmm.
3 hours each way. Flavio says he hates trees. I don't know. So it's Flavio's area is tree. Is he the part like the
Yeah,
desert?
I guess Flavio can't buy my properties anymore because I'll have a clause that says he can't cut down the tree or I get it back.
Uh, so like I said, yeah, I think that's the one thing, right? So people be proactive. Always be looking at your property, see where you can improve on efficiency. Like you're talking about, I think water is your kind of go to first, right? That's where you're most concerned with. Not only, yeah, not only for efficiency, but just like you said, it can probably cause a significant amount of damage, right, when it goes unattended.
Flavio's flexing his tree count.
Yes, he says I have over 100 trees in 10 units. Yeah, see,
They're supposed to be outside the units, not in the units, Flavio.
but Flavio, see, to that point, probably people don't know Flavio has 10 units. So that's the thing. He's the kind of a sleeper where people don't really know what he's doing. And I'm trying to get him to come on our Wednesday calls, where we have different school members join us. This Wednesday, Cody Albright will be joining us. That should be a fun one. He has a property management company in Louisiana. He's also an investor, so that should be a fun one to dig into. And I guess he was a big power lifter too. So how he relates kind of that dedication and mindset to his investing. He said. Marlon RE says he is not wrong. Trees in the desert lower the temp. Very desirable for desert rats. Ah, okay. Like I said, so what was that other? Like I said, you do two videos a week, Tuesday and Thursday. Like I said, one, this one, the repairs one, I thought was really helpful. A lot of good information. The other one was like a rapid fire 60-second video. You're in and out, right? You had to go do something, I believe. But what was
Yeah,
that one?
I had to go to the planning commission meeting because I sit on the planning commission board. So that one was talking about increasing your win rate. And I believe that the message in there was believing that it is possible will allow you to get more done than if you think you can't. Like I was basically going rapid fire back to back on a whole bunch of projects, a lot of stuff. And it's like, crap, I got to still film this video. And so I did it. And then I made it in with a minute to spare. And I believed I could get it all done. And I did. But it would have been much easier to say that's too much to do. I guess I'm just going to miss the video, or I'm just not going to do this project today. And I just believe I can get everything I need to get done. And it's simple, but it allows me to get more done than if I said, oh, you can't do all that.
All right, now you're putting me on the spot. Now I'm gonna have to figure out when I'm in Japan how I'm gonna just put content out there while I'm gone for 2 weeks. So, like you said, sometimes you're just putting a quick 30-second, 60-second video out there. And I think even Zuber, that's what he's doing with his daily financial right now while he's on a trip. Right, he's putting out these pre-recorded videos, and that's a perfect segment to Big Andy tuning in. Like I said, I haven't seen a video on his new channel. I thought he was supposed to be coming out with something every Sunday. So I'm gonna tell Andy that I haven't seen anything in like 2 weeks, I believe. And Jen, yes, I agree. I want to hear Flavio's story. I think the only one that probably knows full in depth might be Cody. Cody might know the most about Flavio out of anyone. But I am trying to get him on. So maybe if you folks let him know that you want to hear his story, then Flavio would jump on here on a Wednesday. You also had your video. I thought that was very interesting with Michael Zuber, your Monday recordings, and you guys kind of talked about the was it the 6 keys, I believe, for Gen Z to get wealthy. Is that was that kind of the main topic of
No,
it?
something like that.
Yeah. So that no, that was a very I think a lot of it kind of relates to kind of the Zuber's rules, right? But kind of like house hack earlier. I don't know. Was house hack your initial jump into real estate?
No, no, I didn't house hack. I got into real estate with my 12plex.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, house hacking would have been great if I had lived. So I added a unit at the 12plex. I turned it from a 12 to a 13. If I had prioritized that early on in my career and just lived in that 13th unit, lived there for free, had the cash flow of a few thousand a month, I would have, because that cash flow is tax free for me. So it still is. So that would have been financial freedom, just the one building. Didn't have to buy anything else. That that would have been me living there, $4,000 a month cash flow within a couple of years of buying it. Like I would have, and no housing cost. I would have been done. I would have been living in Quincy underneath a fourplex, but that would have been financial freedom, and I could have built from there. So
Josh Burdick does say Washington is the evergreen state, but most people don't realize Central and Eastern Washington is pretty arid. Um, James asks, Cody, are you checking with the power company about energy improvement rebates? Ah,
I'd like to. I need someone to help me with that.
yeah. I think that, that's so that kind of also we can touch on like the energy. Like you said, you need someone to maybe help you with that, but that's also part of your discussion that you have with Zuber is kind of just finding people around you that are doing these things, right? But I think it also was about finding people your age doing it. So is that, I mean, I would think when you started finding people your age, that had to have been challenging.
Yeah, but there were people my age that were real estate agents. There were not really people my age that were buying real estate. But if I had met with people my age that were real estate agents, I would have done better as a real estate agent. That's what I was pursuing before I was pursuing buying rentals.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing, right? It's really like you're saying, taking advantage of what's around you. And we do want to also clarify, like so Cody does run what's called the Gen Z call on Saturday, right? And I think a lot of people are afraid to tune in and just trying to realize. I think you show a screenshot. That's why people realize there's a whole bunch of old folks there. So it's not specifically for Gen Z. So anyone is welcome to attend the calls on Saturday that Cody and Dylan run. It is called Gen Z Plus. So yeah, it is open for everyone. So jump in over there. It's not specifically for Gen Z. But yeah, Cody gives a lot of great information over there. I think another thing too is developing high value skills, right? Was another point of your discussion with Zuber.
Communication is really important. Yeah, that's a high value skill. If you can effectively communicate, you can make a lot of money. If you suck at communication, you need to get good at it. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. I always sucked at communication. Being able to figure out what people want through effective communication, like that's part of that skill. But you figure out what people want and then line up a path for them to get it. That'll make you a lot of deals. I had a tenant last night. It was circumstantial because everybody at my property. So I have a 12-plex and I had to empty, and so I filled it last night. But the guy got there a few minutes early, and he had the money. He signed the lease already. It's like, I just saw a drug deal outside, and then they drove off. Like, well, did anybody go into my property? No. They still there? No. It just happened to be circumstantial. It was terrible timing, but I was able to communicate that that is not a regular occurrence. And he decided to move in because he texted me. He's like, "Hey, I don't know about this. I just saw this happen." I'm like, "Well, you're welcome to not move in. I totally understand." But I went through my story on it, and he moved in anyway. If I didn't have a communication skill to walk through that situation, I would have just lost the $2,100.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Zuber always talks about too, right? Like I think one of the most important courses or classes he took in college, I believe, was his public speaking. Was that public speaking or some sort of communication public speaking course? I mean, if you look at him today, you'd probably never know that he maybe struggled with communication or public speaking. I think he does a very good job of that. But yeah, I think it's very important, and that's why I always encourage people to either jump on these live streams with us or even the Wednesday meet the school member. Just get comfortable talking about your story and sharing what you're doing and getting out there. So hint, hint, Flavio, you can join us next Wednesday. And so someone also recommended maybe get some other Spanish speaking individuals on with Flavio, so he might be able to feel a little more comfortable that way. But Flavio, man, I think everyone wants to hear your story. So I think it's time for you to step up and jump on one of these Wednesday meet the school members. Yeah, Hyder does say I identify as a Gen Z. Yeah. Um, Jen Tam says yes. I don't want to be classified as old either on the call. So no, we don't. It's all fun. I mean, I think people were just afraid to tune in because they thought it was only for just like the ladies of ORAD. It's kind of more dedicated for them, and that's why some people don't jump on that call, except for Ray, who snuck in one day. But this Wednesday, I believe the ladies of ORAD call is open to everyone. They're going to be doing kind of like a book review discussion, I believe, on Michael Zuber's book. So this Wednesday, I believe the ladies of ORAD is opening it up to all of the school members. Um, Lynn, are you saying me that you want to jump on the Wednesday call or Wednesday meet the school member? You're absolutely welcome, Lynn. Um, Flavio says he can do it January 13th. I have time that day. So that is but before the ORAD event in Vegas. So we'll probably maybe we'll do a live one, the in-person recording with Flavio at the event. Do you remember any other skills? Any other from that video with Zuber? The six take. I think there was. What about? I think the one that make more by doing less.
Yeah, that's a really important realization. In the beginning, I tried to make more money by doing more, and that's not scalable. You got to find a way to make more money doing less. That's the magic. So I do less today than I used to, and I make a lot more money than I used to. I have to spend a lot more, but it comes down to really figuring out how can I make money without investing a whole bunch of time, sweat, and effort. Because you can only beat your body up so much. And a lot of people beat their body up doing a whole lot of stuff, and then you run out of time, and then you're tired, and you don't want to do it anymore. I know the stuff I was doing in the beginning, being go, go, go. I mean, I'm still busy, but it's a different type of busy. I wouldn't want to even do that today.
Yeah,
It
you
was,
talked about what flipping cars and what other
well,
side hustles you were doing.
coaching gymnastics and Safeway and working on flipping cars, being a real estate agent, trying to sell affiliate. Yeah, I got a keyword trying to sell affiliate programs or products online for car community, which didn't make really any money. Like
Uh,
there was way too much.
yep, and
And then I was
here
looking at even more. Someone someone invited me to this Amway thing, and then I told some friends about it, and they're like, no. So I didn't go down that road, which I'm glad I didn't.
Like Yasik always likes to say, the easy $1, then the hard $2. Yeah. Jackson Hefner from your channel says delegate. Yeah.
Delegation's important, but also finding ways to make money without having to delegate and without having to invest a whole bunch of time.
Absolutely. I think that is the one challenge for a lot of people when they trying to figure this journey out, is when to delegate and how to delegate. That is that one obstacle that a lot of people, I think, have difficulty giving up a little control sometimes. Hyder says, why was Cody looking directly at me when talking about a broken body? Yeah, absolutely. Nope. I
It doesn't,
definitely.
yeah, it doesn't take as long as people think. I mean, it takes a decade to become financially free, but getting the pieces in motion doesn't take as long as people think. I have a buddy who bought a triplex from me, and then he bought my flip house, and I discounted it for him so he could get some equity day one. But he could walk away from his job if he just figures out how to pay off his triplex and pay off his house. And I think the total debt load between the two deals, because we're in a cheaper market, and I gave him a deal on both of them. I think he owes like 450 in total, which is a lot of money, but he's only $450,000 of debt away from being financially free, which is an interesting perspective.
Yeah, but you mentioned deals, so I guarantee Flavio is now gonna reach out to you and try to see what kind of deals he can get from you.
I can give him deals, I just not as deep of a discount as he asked for. I always discount stuff. So
Hyder says Amway is full of good intentions and incentives for friends to stay away from you. Yes. Steven says, I've been doing great on the doing less, but so far I haven't been making more. I need to work on that part. Okay.
Yep, you need to figure out how to get other people to give you money
Yeah,
without you working. I mean, that's the trick. Like I can make money working, and you can make money working, but the question is, how do you get people to give you money without working?
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think, and to that point, right? Maybe it's not all. Maybe it's not only like making money or making profit, but it's also finding ways for people to lend you money so that you can take on more deals that make sense. And that's also why, like, kind of going back to the whole sharing what you're doing, communicating. So even like Stephen P, I told him, he should join me on the Wednesday, meet the school member. And his response is, oh, I only got one duplex, right? And it's
What's wrong with that?
yeah, exactly, right. But it's kind of, yeah, just share your story, let people know what you're doing, right? And you'll be surprised that when you show confidence out there, or show results, and then there might be people out there willing to invest, right? Or loan you money, or be your private lender, or whatnot. Hey, Invest to Wealth tuning in. Hey, Curtis is here. He says Amway people like a cult. Um, oh, talking about that too, not code, but making money or side. How is the loan officer mortgage side of things going for you?
I have to get my thumbprints submitted to the FBI before I can do any business.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. I had to
That's
do that for a real estate agent license too. I don't know if I went to the FBI. I think I just had to. Well, I actually don't know. Back then, I didn't really pay attention to anything, so that was like 8 years ago.
huh. Wonder if that's just your area. I don't. My fingerprint. I don't know.
No, I had to do that for a real estate agent, and I believe that's nationwide for being a lender.
Lynn is saying, do you agree or disagree with the following prompt? You can learn new things, but you can't really change how intelligent you are. No matter how much intelligence you have, always change it quite a bit. Oh, this is a long one.
Well,
You
we
can
have really,
always,
yeah.
yeah, you can always substantially change how intelligent you are.
Well, I think this is like a one by one. So the
Okay.
first one, I would disagree. I mean, you can learn new things. It's true, but to say you can't really change how intelligent you are is false. Here's the reason. I've known the same piece of information for a while, and then I go connect with someone who is decades of experience further in their journey. They've done it a lot more. They give me a different perspective, and with the same exact information, I like I didn't get new information, like the piece of data that I'm utilizing, but the perspective of how that idea was used, I can now use it at a higher level. So, like a financing piece, seller financing, sellers can finance their equity, and so that's a piece of information. You can use it at that base level, and then you meet with someone that says, "Well, I've done seller finance second mortgages." Then you learn, well, I've done seller finance mortgages where I can actually sell the property and move the note to another property and refinance a private debt or use it to acquire new debt. I've converted a seller finance note to an equity position, whereas now they have an equity position in the LLC a few years later. There's so many ways to do it. And when you get that perspective regarding the same piece of data or the same subject, you can now make more intelligent decisions.
So the second part you're saying, so no matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit.
Of course, there's always
Mhm.
more to learn. We're seeing that with AI.
Yeah. Then she says you can always substantially change how intelligent you are. I don't know how substantially, but I think you can always change. I mean,
Well, there
subjectively.
was some stuff that I thought, like with the creative finance stuff, I thought I knew a lot because I'd studied it and I'd borrowed well north of 8 figures creatively, and I plugged in scenarios into AI and found a bunch more ways to do stuff that I'd never heard of that had obviously been done. Like you didn't just make it up. So you can always increase your knowledge base without a doubt.
Hyder says, Lynn, that's thought provoking. I really don't know if intelligence can be expanded. Um, well, I think today, right, with like you just touched on a little bit with AI, right, you definitely have a lot more opportunities and ability to expand information and intelligence and knowledge, and the resources are out there. And there's so much at your fingertips now, so it is a lot more opportunities. And I think Graham Stephan just had a his iced coffee hour with I think it's the Oppenheim group. Those two
Hmm.
they do, but that was a pretty interesting one. They're very big on AI, and they're very under the belief that I believe they're talking like they can see in 5 to 10 years, like you know such drastic change in the workforce, and what jobs are going to be out there anymore and what jobs are going to be gone because of AI. So pretty interesting sit down. What's your thought? Did you see or hear the talk about Graham Stephan selling all of his real estate?
Oh, he's been talking about that for a while. He's never been a real estate guy, so I mean, it's not a big deal.
Well, I think in the beginning, right, he was kind of because that he
No,
started as a realtor, right?
a realtor, but he's not a real estate guy. It's professional. Like he's not an investor.
Yeah, yeah.
He's never been an investor, nor has he, I think, proclaimed to be a good investor. He paid cash for his rentals. It was the most unsophisticated way to get into real estate. Like he had cash because he was a good real estate agent and he bought things because he had the money.
Yeah. But I think, yeah. I wonder if things would be different if he wasn't in LA. But it just sounds like he just doesn't want to deal with any of it already, right? And he just, and like you said, he's probably making so much money on the other things already that he just doesn't want to deal with it.
His rentals were too small for the universe that he was living in.
Mm.
They would not make a difference. Like if he owned a 100 unit complex, he'd be for real estate if he had the systems to manage it. But having a
Yeah.
rental house and a duplex, low leverage, no leverage, like it doesn't matter.
Hyder says, I think intelligence can be shifted, not sure about expanding. I don't want to conflate intelligence and comprehension. I see intelligence as the ability to comprehend. I'll have to really think on this. Lynn says, I also want to say no to substantially, but now I realize I am not actively practicing growth mindset. Hmm.
I believe you can improve anything if you focus on it long enough. So
Jen, yep. So Jen, I think she's talking on Flavio. Maybe everyone has a story, and it's always interesting. Yep. So I think maybe Flavio, and even like I said, Steven from the Bronx, right? Um, yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of firefighter stories that you can tell us, Steven, and even your duplex. But Gus says Cody doing a great breakdown on Graham. I love it. The truth will set you free. Yeah, that was a great perspective. I think it didn't fit his real estate didn't fit kind of what he was living in, right?
and the less money you have, the more creative and the more sophisticated you have to be if you want to play the game. Because anybody with money can buy real estate.
Victor's another one that has to come on Wednesday and share. People probably don't even know he's doing this cool, what, like a 36 unit build. Cody, was that what it 36,
Yeah,
33, 36?
pretty cool.
Yeah. So Victor's another one that has to come on here and share his story. But he does say, focus, focus. Yeah. Yeah, I said, anything else you want to touch on? I mean, I said, I know we started off on the repair side of things, kind of making your properties more efficient. And I think we kind of went off onto some of the your discussions recently with Zuber and your other topic. Like I said, Tuesday, Thursdays, you put out a video. But any other things on the repair side, maybe, like I say, you can touch on to wrap things up with as people can focus on or think about to make their properties a little more efficient in the long run?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, they make more efficient heaters, so like you can get low flow toilets, efficient heaters. Like there's stuff you can do to
Hmm. Yeah,
save.
what about that? Like you said, the toilets. I know Lumberjack talks about that quite a bit. Putting in certain toilets in his units. Is that something you're probably going to start doing also?
There's definitely a consideration. Yeah, I mean it's something that I look at, but I do the health and safety stuff before I focus on saving water. But it all adds up.
James, yes, you know what? That is something I was thinking about a while back. I was like, did I pigeonhole myself by making my channel Financial Firefighter? Now, when I retire, what am I going to do? But I think I'm too lazy to change anything. So I don't know. Unless the only thing I was thinking of is if I have more like a actual like name for the channel, and like a more like a brand name. So like one rental at a time is more just a general brand name, right? Doesn't include Zuber's name in the branding, right? So, or even like iced coffee hour, like Graham Stephan, right? So more like a brand, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm just having fun with what I'm doing, so it's not that big of a importance or for me. And I don't think I'm going to come out with merchandise or anything, so it doesn't matter to me really. um, Flavio's asking, are you changing something on the Ellensburg units? Is a large building, I think is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, there's some plans for the interiors. It's going to take a little bit of money here and there. Outside, going to be optimizing the green space, assuming it closes. I'm waiting to hear back on the feasibility. I put in a request to lower the price and get a credit, and the seller is like, "Well, there's this is an example. I'm making up numbers not to give things away, but let's say there's a $30,000 repair. He's like, let's just, or no, not $30,000 repair. There's 30,000 more per year in OpEx. So they said it was, in this example, 100. Now it's 130. It's like, let's just take 30 grand off the price. But that 30 grand is like 450,000 of value because it's a recurring expense. So he doesn't quite understand that. But it's not worth arguing with people richer than you. So
Stephen P says, all my fire stories start with, there I was, 10 feet past common sense. Well, I'm sure people want to hear those type of things, Stephen. Different stories, different, because I think your stories also probably uh, give people a look into, why you invest a certain way, or why, or why maybe you're willing to invest when people might be thinking, oh, you're just, you should be sitting, enjoying the riding off in the sunset, right? Enjoying your retirement, right? So, um, Flavio is saying he is ready for January 13th. Yeah, definitely, Flavio. We can do a live one-on-one recording in Vegas, but that just means you have to come in earlier. Last year he came in like on, I believe on the Friday, before the event. What is your plan? Are you planning? Yeah, because I know you were kind of had a couple obligations. Are you going to try and spend a little more time in Vegas next year for the event?
that's the plan. Yeah, that's definitely the plan. I'm curious from this last year at Vegas. I did that video with Brian. He still hasn't released it. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's going to release it because he admitted that you can get cash flowing rentals in that video. And so I don't believe he will post it.
Hmm. Yeah, so I will be recording with Dion and Lumberjack again on Wednesday while Zuber's still on his trip. So we'll dig into the comment sections again. Last week one was pretty fun because I believe Lumberjack didn't realize that Brian wanted a apology from them. So it kind of caught Lumberjack a little bit by surprise that Brian wanted a apology from those guys. But it should, and I also found out that apparently I may be moderating a lumberjack Brian or a bald guy debate at the One Rental at a Time event. So that's something that was just mentioned to me on that call with Dion and Lumberjack. So that should be interesting also. But Cody, always fun to do this on Mondays. It's always fun catching up. Like I said, I like your Tuesday and Thursdays videos. They're short to the point, but I like to dig into a little bit more to kind of see where you're coming from on that. And a lot of good information there. So everyone, check out Cody's channel. He puts out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday, even when he's busy. Like you said, he had an obligation, but he took the time, put out a quick, I believe it was like a 60-second video.
Yeah,
They say
it was pretty short.
yeah, but staying to what he said he's gonna do, right? And put it out there. Victor says, yeah, he might not post that video, he believes. The bald guy.
It doesn't align with his brand, so I could see him not posting it.
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe you can get well, yeah, I doubt he would give you a
No, I texted him and he's just left me on red multiple times. So I'm just gonna drop it and let him be wrong.
Hyder says, fools demand apologies, leaders command apologies. Wait, so was that recorded with
At
his
his
video or his? Oh, okay. Okay. That's
Yeah,
right.
it was at his place. So went over there and yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I think you definitely found a home. I think you definitely found the right tribe for you. I think a lot of people love the information you're sharing. They really relate to you well, and your honesty and transparency. So I think you fit in very well with everyone, and people would probably hope that you do spend a little more time in Vegas next year. So if that's possible, I think that'll be a lot of fun. But everyone, thanks for always tuning in on Mondays. And like I said, I'll be back tomorrow with Gus, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, I think he sent me an Instagram reel. So we're going to probably break that down tomorrow. And everyone have a good rest of the day. Thank you.